Good evening, everyone. This is Goddess Love, and welcome to the Dialogue and Love podcast with your hostess, me, of course. So, this week, I want to talk about self love and how going to therapy helped me a lot with love. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little story, and I'm also going to read the Google breakdown or definition of self love. It says here that self love is a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from actions that support our physical, psychological, and spiritual growth. Self love means having a high regard for your own well being and happiness. Self love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well being to please others. That was from the bbrfoundation.org. That's their blog. That's what they feel that self love means. And it makes a lot of sense. Okay. It's about your own well being, it's about taking care of yourself, making sure you don't sacrifice your own well being, your own love of self, your own taking care of yourself for that of others. The reason why I wanted to read that particular breakdown from Google is because in my early life, ever since I was a little girl, I always knew that I was going to get me a husband and I was going to have two kids, a boy and a girl. Okay. Me and that husband was going to get married for the right reasons because we loved each other and our children were going to be made out of love. Well, that's what I did. Um, Despite growing up in a household with a single mother, my grandparents were separated before I was born. So all I had to go by was the dynamic that was presented to me by society, watching TV, whatever, of what a family is supposed to look like outside of just your mother, your father, your grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, and things of that nature. The family that you create of your own should be two parents. And back then, because I was born in the 70s, so it was a man and a woman, and then they had the children. I realize that's not the dynamic today, but let me tell my story. um, I grew up, I met my ex husband when I was 18 years old in 1990. We actually were friends for like 2 years. We talked on the phone and we would laugh and we were very friendly with each other. And during that time when I was younger, I always say I was much wiser when it came to how I dealt with relationships and men when I was younger because as soon as they did something I didn't like, I got rid of them. So I dated a lot. Like some didn't make it past 3 weeks, some might have made it a couple of months, some might have made it 3 months, but as soon as you did something I didn't like, you had to go. It was just simple as that. Well, this man was the only man that could drop by my house unannounced without calling, and I hadn't seen him in 6 months. Now, again, we were just friends, so I wouldn't be mad at him if I didn't see him for a long period of time. You know, we both were dating other people, all kinds of stuff, but we, would check in with each other every so often. One particular time, he came by and he was like, one day you're going to be my wife. And I didn't like him like that. And I just laughed when he said it like, he don't even know. I don't even like him like that. But, I mean, I want to say about a year later or so. And back that during that time, I really liked men that were like thick and muscular. I didn't like skinny dudes, and he was skinny. And one day, out of nowhere, he showed up, and I almost didn't recognize him because he had gained weight, but this particular day, it was like, oh, I was looking at him different then because he fit the bill. Because this handsome man, and he was smelling good and looking good and had on this damaged denim outfit that was popular when in the 90s. But anyway, he came in and he was like, "Oh, I was just in the neighborhood, so I thought I would come by and see how you was doing." And he sat down on the couch. We talked for a minute. And my mother and my grandmother and all of them, because that's who I was living with at the time, they knew everybody. If you came by this house, you was coming in and you was gonna speak. So my mom, "Hey, who is this?" And I'm like, "This, the ex-husband." She was like, "What? Hey, how you doing?" So after he left, my mother was like, "Oh, I know y'all like him now because he's your speed. Now I've been telling you need to get with him." So anyway, we didn't immediately get together, but he stayed in the mental. And some months went by and we talked about, he called me and I guess we was just talking about what we wanted. And it's like, I'm finna be 20 years old and this and that. And he like, "Oh, okay. So what, if you was gonna have a boyfriend, what would you want him to be like?" So I told him, he gotta be working. He need to have his own place and his own car. And, we come together and then we build from there. So I want to say a few more months went by. And he called me like, "Is it okay if I come by?" And I was surprised because it's like, you normally just show up. Well, when he came, he said, "Yeah, I got me a place. I got my own place. And, yeah, yeah, I'm working at Thornapple Valley and I just got a new car and blah, blah, blah." And he asked me, like, "I want to talk to you about something." So I'm like, "What?" Because we've been talking a little bit more on the phone. And he was like, "I heard what you said about what you wanted in a man and all of that. And I got a job and I got my own place and I got a car. You gonna be my girlfriend?" And I was like, "Quit playing." And he was like, "No, I'm serious. You gonna be my girlfriend?" So I was like, "Yeah." So that was the day, August 25th, 1992, we became exclusive. Okay. So long story short, fast forward between August 25th, 1992 and October 26th, 2017, a whole lot of stuff happened. For one, in 1993, we had our first child. In 1996, we had our second child. We didn't get married until 2001. He told me he wanted to give me the big wedding and all of that kind of stuff. Now, when I got with this man, as y'all heard before, I was 20 years old. Very naive. I thought I knew everything, but who the fuck knows anything at 20? You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. But, I love him. And, I first everything, I moved out from my mom to move in with him once I became pregnant. And, we spent every waking moment together. It was like we couldn't get enough of each other. It was this huge honeymoon phase for a long time, for a very long time. Like, even before we got married, our honeymoon phase ran till we got married. Like, we never could get enough of each other. We had our ups and downs. We argued and stuff, but we always were good together. We took care of each other. We looked out for each other. And then about a month after we got married, something major happened where I'm just going to be honest. There was infidelity and an extramarital child. So that sent me into a downward spiral. I fell into a very deep depression. This was in uh, September of 2021. It sent me, I mean, not 2021, 2001. um, that sent me into a downward spiral. I'm 29 years old. I have two children with this man, and I'm ready to, spend the rest of my life with him. And then this happens. So, because I was so in love with this man and everything was like a fairy tale for me in that situation, I was devastated. Um, I ended up quitting my job. I functioned only enough to get up and take my children to school. I came back home and got into bed until it was time to go pick them up from school. Um, it was, I lost a lot of weight. I went from 210 pounds to 147 pounds within like 4 or 5 months or something. Like, it was very devastating. And my state of mind, now that I'm looking back on it, my state of mind was not well. Um, I really needed to go to therapy and get some help at that time, but I didn't. Um, so fast forward, a whole lot of other stuff happened in between that I won't jump into at this moment, but a whole lot of stuff happened in between till it got to be so much that I couldn't take it anymore. Every time I turned around, it was something new coming up that was devastating me and knocking me off my feet. And it was like, at this point, I just couldn't take it anymore. So we separated October 26th, 2017. The divorce was finalized in June of 2018. And I've been single since then. I dated and all of that kind of stuff. But after the devastation of divorce, because I still love this man, I still wanted to have a family, but at this point, our children were adults, and a whole lot of emotional damage and trauma had been done to everybody involved. So I decided that it was time for me to go to therapy again. Now, in between the time that all of this stuff went on from 2001, the first time I went to therapy, I tried to go to marriage counseling with him so that we could try to work through this. He wasn't having it. He said that everybody was biased, of course, because it was all his fault and he did what he did. And I said I was sorry, and that's it. So, didn't go back. Well, I got really overwhelmed at one point, and it was just like this thing was just eating me up. And I'm an overthinker. That's a character flaw as far as I'm concerned, because I overthink everything to the point where it'll keep me up. Anyway, I went to my first therapist, which was a male. I was working at the time, and I used the EAP or whatever it is, where they assist people with mental health concerns, and you can go to sessions for free and stuff, and the company pays for it. Well, anyway, I used the EAP. I went to the therapist. It was a black man in downtown Detroit, and this man, for a lack of a better word, lit into my ass and told me, "You need to leave. You're a fool. Why would you stay with this man?" And I'm clutching my pearls like, "You're supposed to be listening to me, not cussing me and telling me what to do." In which he was right. He wouldn't have brought it the wrong way as a therapist, but he was right. But I wanted to stay. The primary reason I stayed because I loved him. I'm not going to deny that. The next reason was I wasn't trying to break up the family that I created. I I did my children a great disservice by staying in that relationship, and allowing them to see certain things go on and be privy to everything that was going on. Um, anyway, I didn't go back to this man. I only went to one session, and it was like, I'm not going back to him. He's just mean, and he literally called me stupid, and it was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. But he was right. The next time I went was after my mom passed in 2014. Again, everything was too overwhelming. On top of my mother dying, there's other drama, marital drama. It was all too much, and I couldn't deal with it. So I went to therapy again, and every time I went to therapy, I was always crying, 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 just pouring my heart out, because I felt so alone in the world. Because it was like, I know it's other people that's dealing with stuff like this, but it can't be like this. And the people that I felt like that I could talk to was my mom. My mom, old school. She born in the 50s. Leave his ass, that type of thing. And it was like, she ain't no help. She biased because you hurting my baby. So, I don't know what to do, because I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place, because it's like, if I leave, I'm not going to be happy, because I love this man. And it was like, I wanted to stay, so I stayed. So I didn't go to therapy anymore until after we broke up. I started my spiritual journey of learning who I was inside and out, understanding who I am, healing from all of the things that I experienced, trying to fix this trauma. And so the first thing that I did was I one of the first things I did was I talked to my children. I apologized to them for staying in that situation and allowing so much to happen around them. And I don't think they really understood. Like, even though they were grown and had my daughter had children of her own, I think they still was in a whirlwind. First, they was like, "Well, I'm glad you finally left," because they were always questioning, like, "Why do you stay with him?" And it was like, "I love your daddy, and I don't want to break up our family." And then, it was just kind of all over the place for everybody because this was a new thing. I had been with this man for 20 some odd years, and this was their father, of course. So the next time I went to therapy and I talked to this lady, and she was like, "Well, you need to just get rid of everything that's associated with him." And I'm like, "Lady, what are you talking about?" Now, she was the quack, if you ask me. Because how do you tell somebody get rid of everything that's supposed to kill the kids? Get rid of the car? No, I'm not doing all of that. So it was like, I need a good therapist. So I found another therapist, and this person let me say everything that I needed to say. No head rubbing and coddling and all of that kind of stuff. But the one question that they asked me, and this is a question that I ask people to this day when they talk to me, ask for my advice, coaching sessions, whatever. You've told me your story. Now, what are you going to do about it? Ah, that is the $1 million question, is what are you going to do about it? And so she helped me set up a strategy on how to sort through my feelings and journaling and, taking everything one day at a time. Then she recommended meditation. That's how I got into meditation. I started meditating every day. I changed my eating habits. I journaled. I wrote down whatever my feelings were about the situation. I took accountability for my part in it. Okay. Now, some may say, well, you were a victim. Yeah, well, you at some point you have to get out of the victim mentality because you teach people how to treat you. Had I not allowed this man to do it, was so many red flags in the beginning. If I had a stuck to my guns, if I had a been in Mac mode, if you will, and the first thing that he did that I didn't like got rid of him, things might have been different. But that's neither here nor there. I let him slide with so many things. It was my fault. I fell for the okey doke on so many things. That was my fault. I overlooked so many things. That was my fault. Okay. I felt like I had to put my family that I created, my spouse and my children, I had to put them before myself. That is the biggest misconception, because I almost said something else, but okay, I'm just gonna say it. That's the biggest pile of doo ever, is to tell a woman or a man for that matter that they need to put their everybody else and everything else and their well-being before you. Now, don't get me wrong, when you have children, of course their well-being is your priority, but you are your priority as well. You can't fill your life up with the house, the kids, the husband, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, running errands, all of this stuff for everybody else. Because where do you fit in there? Other than being the butler, the maid, the chauffeur, the everything to everybody around you, what are you being to yourself? Okay. So, in that aspect of it, having that thinking, it allowed me to put everything and everybody before myself and allow all of my well being to fall by the wayside. So, once I got divorced and I started going to therapy, and I went to therapy for about a year and a half during that time. until I felt like I could be on my own and handle it, and I did. And that doesn't mean that I am completely healed. I personally feel like there's always more room for healing, because as you peel back the layers and you get older, you start recognizing certain things for what they are. When you write those journals and you go back and look at what you wrote, you start recognizing certain things. And one of the things I recognized, and this was in my dating after my divorce, I realized that because I was so used to having a man, I was so used to having companionship, I was so used to having that go to person, that I would move quickly to try to fill that gap that I was missing from being with my ex for all of that time. I now understand why a lot of men ghosted me. I now understand why a lot of men were like, yeah, I like you, but I can't be with you. A lot of them weren't really honest with me, but I get it now. I am very picky. I am very choosy about who I allow into my energy, because even though I have been deemed by my children and so many other people as being mean, I don't care about nobody else's feelings and all of that type of stuff. When I love you, I will give you chance after chance after chance after chance, because I want to make it work. This is for everybody around me. But once I got out of that mode, it was like a whole new me blossomed. I don't care what people call me. You can call me mean, you can call me evil, you can call me detached, whatever it is that you want to call me. But you can't call me unprotected and that I ain't got no boundaries, because I do, and I keep them. Because the people who know me the best, who know me from birth, were my ex and my children. Besides my mother and my sister. Though my mother, there was times when she used to take advantage of me all the time. My sister is the only person that kind of understands certain aspects of me, because she studied me since she was a little girl. But my ex knew exactly what buttons to push to get what he wanted from me. He knew exactly what to say to get what he wanted from me, regardless to whether I was mad, whatever it was. He knew exactly what to do. My children did the same thing. And so when I basically set them down and apologized and was like, look, it was four people in that house having four different experiences, and all of it wasn't good. That was the only regret that I had, that I didn't remove my children from that toxic environment for all of our well being. Um, but it was like, I just flat out told them, like, I am my first priority now. Well, I guess nobody believed me, because when certain things would come up and I would say, no, I can't do that. No, I don't have it. No, you can't. No, no was a problem for everybody. Only person that was applauding me and doing backflips was my sister. God bless her. I love her. But some of the relationships that I have are strained. Some relationships and friendships that I thought were going to be everlasting, they fell by the wayside because of me loving myself. That one question being asked in therapy opened up a whole new outlook on life for me. I understand myself so much better. I promise you, I'm 52 years old. I promise you, if you are in your 20s, there's a whole lot more you're going to learn, and you're going to be glad you learned it. When you're in your 30s, you're going to look back and be like, I was a dumb little motherfucker in my 20s. But I know a lot of stuff now. In your 40s, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, it's supposed to start getting easy now. Because I done learned all of them lessons from being a youngster. And then when you hit 50, you still going to realize in your 40s, your 30s, and your 20s, you didn't know shit compared to what you know now. And I'm pretty sure there's much more for me to learn. And I'm going to look back on it, and I'm going to have a different attitude. So I'm going to tell y'all where I'm at now. I am still single. I am not looking for a relationship. I have not given up on having a new relationship. one that is full of love and reciprocation of love and intimacy and all of the things that I truly miss in my ex, because we had all of those things together, but without the dishonesty, without uh, the infidelity, without the not lack of communication, without the narcissistic behaviors, without the emotional abuse and things of that nature. I've also come to the realization that I may never get that, and I'm satisfied with that because I'm happy with me. I love me enough not to just settle for any old thing or any old one just so I can have a relationship. We were taught back then, the song is, hey, no pain, no gain. Having a piece of a man is better than having no man at all, and all of that type of stuff. No. If I have to choose, as these men, I'm quoting a lot of men on social media, if I have to choose some of the things that's been coming towards me, I would rather be alone with cats, dogs, and whatever else by myself, enjoying life, reading tarot, reading books, getting up and going whenever I please, not having to cook unless I feel like it, not having to answer to anyone, not having to say, how do you feel about this? I don't have to consider anyone else's feelings about what I do and how I live but me. If I'm happy, that's all that matters. And that is what is most important on your path and journey of self love. Making sure that your well being, your mental, your physical, your emotional, everything, your well being is A1. Because ain't nobody gonna take care of you like you take care of you. If you neglecting you, what you think everybody else gonna do? You don't even love and appreciate yourself enough to make sure you're straight. So why should anybody else? So I implore you, anyone out there who feels like it's just all too much and you don't know where to turn and you don't know what to do and you know that the situation that you're in is not healthy for you, I definitely say talk to someone who is impartial. Talking to your mama and talking to your sister and your cousin and your baby sister cousin Tracy who live around the corner and your co-workers and all, that's not going to help you. Speak to someone who knows how to assist other than gossiping and talking about you behind your back. Other than judging you and calling you a fool for staying. Because I've been called all the names in the book. Stupid, dumb, naive, everything else. And I was all of that. But I done growed up now, though. I know better. And I've learned from all those lessons, and I'm grateful for them. Okay? So all you young ladies out there who are listening, I hope this is going to encourage you to get assistance in moving forward from whatever situation you're in that you feel like you don't want to be in. And it doesn't have to be a man. It could be your parents. It could be other family members. It could be siblings, because narcissist comes in all shapes, sizes, colors, and sexes. So it don't always have to be a man. I'm kicking it from the heart here. I tell you, dialogue and love. It's about love from every aspect. I just wanted to tell my story because I want people to understand that I'm assisting based off of what I know from my experiences, what I've gathered from my observances. I'm only going to talk about what I know, and what I don't know, I'll look it up and I'll try to get an answer for you if that's what you need me to do. But I want people to understand because, I am a black woman, I am a melanated woman, and we all know that over the years, centuries, there has been a stigma in the black community with getting assistance with mental health. The people around you want to call you crazy. People are embarrassed to go get help. Don't ever be embarrassed to help yourself. That's the greatest form of self love you could ever have and give yourself, is to make sure your mental, your physical, your emotional well being is on point. Because otherwise, you can't be nothing for nobody else. Okay. And also, I feel like childhood trauma, oh boy, if you go to therapy, you're going to get to the root of your childhood traumas, and you're also going to realize how childhood traumas affect your romantic relationships and your family dynamic. I promise you, I wouldn't steer you wrong. All I want to see is healing and self-love in this world. So don't worry about what other people think. You will get through it. But you got to be willing to get down to the dirty and the nit and the grit and the ugly and the parts that you don't want to deal with. You got to be willing to take some accountability, responsibility, and become completely self aware so that you can stay on this healing journey and stay loving yourself even when you mess up. Keep loving yourself. Even when you feel like you ain't worthy of love, find a reason to love yourself. All right, well, I have taken you all past the point of no return. I thank everyone for listening and watching. I am very appreciative. And once again, if anything that I've said here can help one or two people, then my job is done. I thank you all again. I'm sending you all peace, love, light, positive energy, and healing vibes. I'll see you soon, macaroons. Let's dialogue and love. Bye.